Allies or Enemies by Peachiibunnii, Chapter 26. Grant didn't fully register his feet touching the ground until his legs gave out underneath him. His knees hit the rough textures of a roof. A roof? The sidewalk? He couldn't quite see in front of him. He looked down, but all he saw were vague colours blurring in his vision. His head felt like it was spiraling. His body felt heavy. Exactly, I'm here. I'm right here. Green nodded in response, listening to the foggy voice. It was gentle. Warm hands held his biceps, and bright colours flashed in front of his eyes. He was so gentle, almost like Doc was. Within seconds, Green was able to hear the sound of another explosion and a car alarm going off. He looked up at Hawkeye and turned away, covering his mouth as his stomach did disgusting flips. He knew he was going to be sick. He felt like his whole world had done a 180, and someone just flipped that upside. What did you say? He heard Hawkeye asking him, holding his shoulders to keep him from laying down. Green couldn't throw up. Not right here. Not right now. Even though he really wanted to. His anxiety was taking over him today. It was bad, but after seeing his supposed dead father, his life didn't even feel real anymore. I saw him, Green whispered, reaching up to grip at his hair, avoiding his head wings. I saw him. It's Doc, or... He remembered the odd colour of Doc's skin, the rough texture, and bionic eyes. Him as a mutant. Green caught his breath, swallowing the bile that rose in his throat. Seeing someone he had believed to be dead was one thing, but having to mourn and deal with the haunting thoughts and nightmares were another thing. He couldn't believe his situation. One day he's doing patrols with Hawkeye, working casually day to day, and the next he's cursed with the dread of mortality and fear of anyone coming too close to him. I can't do this, Green bursted out, fingers tightening in his hair. I can't. I don't even know what we're doing. I can't do it. How do I do this? Green gasped frantically for air, hands coming over the top of his own on his head. Exalqua, breathe. Breathe deeply. Take a moment. You can do this. You know him. You can talk to him. You can get him to stop. Okay, suggested softly, making the avian look up at him. Green felt his stomach twist sadistically at Hawkeye's words. Are you out of your mind? Green yelled, lifting his hands to break them apart. This morning, I didn't even know he was alive. 2 weeks ago, I accepted he was dead, and a month ago, I didn't even know anything about him. Green screamed, feeling tears welling up in his eyes. And then you go and fucking kidnap me to the inner city, where I was almost killed as a child. Green barely recognized the guilt and sorrow shamefully spreading over the hero's cheeks. Now you want me to talk to my pseudo-dead but alive father and get him to stop? He yelled, cheeks hot with fear. The hero seemed nervous to say anything else. I'm sorry. I am sorry. There's nothing else for me to say. I can't do anything anymore except apologize. Oh. Hawkeye yelled back. I get it. I am a shitty, selfish hero who couldn't do anything without help, but at least I can ask for help. At least I try to help people. I don't know how to help you, he yelled, immediately recoiling after the words came out of his mouth. Green grit his teeth together. He lunged forward, landing on top of the hero on all fours as he screamed down at him. Kidnapping me and forcing me to go to the inner city run by a freaky hybrid cult where I almost died isn't asking for help, he snapped, his sharp canines seemingly sticking out enough to poke his bottom lip. Hawkeye didn't say anything, but his expression was fearful. He swallowed, unmoving. I'm sorry, Hawkeye decided to say again. Green felt guilty, briefly before shifting to sit back on his legs. Don't ever ask for my help again, Green muttered, his speech slightly slurred due to his newly overgrown canines. He reached up to touch them, feeling them slowly retract in his mouth when given a little push. Exalqua, Hawkeye began, slowly sitting up as well. I mean it, Green cut him off. If I do this for you, I will never work with you again, he whispered. Exalqua, don't say that. Hawkeye began, but Green was already moving to stand up. Exalqua, don't listen to me. He moved to stand. Green turned to snap at him, his wings rising in aggression. What has listening to you got me? He yelled, before gesturing around them. Smoke was piling up next to them. More explosions and police sirens were going off in the distance. Hawkeye sported a guilty expression. Right, he huffed, before his shoulders relaxed. If you'll excuse me, I have to go find Doc and talk to him, he grumbled awkwardly, looking around for any sort of hint as to find him. Can we just work together? Hawkeye mumbled, and Green could lose his mind at that moment. Green glanced at him. Why would I want to work with you? He asked with a frown. You've caused so much mayhem in my life within the past month alone. Green groaned, looking out at the sea of smoke and police sirens. Within minutes, their city was being massacred, and they were on a rooftop having a heart-to-heart. He felt like a coward. Fine, he muttered, putting the innocent people before his own issues. Fine, let's fucking do this. We don't have this kind of time to waste and stand around doing nothing. I'm going to fly up and find him. Follow me. We'll both meet up with him. I can try and explain, and we're working together and convince him to stop. I don't know how successful that'll be, though. Grin admitted. It's the best plan we have. Hawkeye was unfortunately right, as much as Grin didn't want to admit it. We've got to hurry, though, before he does anything else. Grin nodded and moved to lift himself off the rooftop. A hand grabbing his leg. He jumped, looking down at Hawkeye in confusion. Hawkeye began, looking up at the avian. I do care about you. Now is not the time for a heart-to-heart, Grin snapped quietly, moving his leg out of the hero's reach. He hated how annoying the hero could be. He looked down at Hawkeye and huffed, turning his head. Just keep up, and don't get yourself killed, he muttered, moving to fly over another building. He weaved around a smoke column. He moved from side to side around a few, swerving easily. He moved to look behind him, spotting the hero keeping up decently. He listened for the sound of explosions, slowing down when he didn't hear any. He heard another and turned to fly in the direction, catching eye of the hybrid on a rooftop. His heart jumped in his chest, throat feeling dry. He took a deep breath. Siblings before anything. He moved closer, slowly approaching the edge of the rooftop Doc was standing on. He flew higher, leaving Hawkeye behind as he approached the mutant. He put one foot down, really taking in the sight of the mutants. He still had his goat horns. His skin had turned an odd green color. He was wearing a lab coat, like he remembered from his childhood. He glanced at his wings and slowly lowered them as Doc turned to meet his eyes. They were both oddly quiet. Green's wings lowered, the cloaking slowly fading to reveal his true wing color. Doc's eyes followed the reveal, skimming over the feathers before jumping back to Green's eyes. He looked surprised to see Green. Green was unsure how to take it. Green opened his mouth, his wings rising as his shoulders did. Doc, he whispered. His feet stayed planted, but they slowly shifted to move closer. Grin, he spoke quietly before his shocked expression faded. Grin didn't care for him even using his name. All he could process was the hybrid, now mutant, staring at him angrily. Grin knew the other may have been angry after the incident of getting him punished with the cult, but was this the punishment? Being made a mutant? Grin moved to take a step back when Doc approached him, running for the blonde. Grin's instincts took over, jumping in the air before Doc could reach the edge. He moved to the other side of the roof, turning to face Doc in confusion. Doc, he began, unsure where to start. He bit his lip, the guilt of abandoning the other weighing down heavily on his chest. I thought you died, he whispered softly. Doc's face softened as he turned to stare at Grin. You thought I died? So you left and abandoned everyone to run away to the surface? He snapped out, staring at his supposed child. Grin felt his face getting hot. This was not the kind of confrontation he thought he was going to have. Yes, I was always told to protect my family. I wanted a life for Pearl and Jimmy. I needed them to grow up safe. I couldn't let them grow up like me, Grin explained. The mere thought of seeing his siblings with needles in their arms and being strapped to tables like he was made him horrified. They aren't even your real family, Doc laughed at Grin's face, holding his arms up. You've never been related. I made you related, he yelled, pointing to his chest. Grin frowned at him, feeling upset having just been told his family wasn't his family. He held his tongue until he couldn't, You didn't make us related. You didn't do anything in that regard besides introducing us. Green let some anger out, some guilt fading at the way Doc was acting. Green glanced and saw Hawkeye coming to the top of the roof behind Doc, crawling onto the ledge. Grin didn't say anything, eyes shifting back to Doc as he ranted. No, I made you. Did you think all those tests and lab results were for fun? Doc frowned at Grin. You were made an avian. When I found you, you were a witch hybrid, capable of amazing things even as an infant. If I made you an aerial soldier, you would have been unstoppable. With your rare witch bloodline, you could perform easy magic. Being an aerial hybrid only meant you were fast and could travel well, but you were made for defense and fighting at a distance, Doc explained. Green felt his reality shatter around him. His wings immediately dropped, grazing the ground. His legs felt weak, his hands felt limp, unable to ball into fists anymore. He barely glanced back at his wings, staring at the color. Every other avian he saw underground were regular bird varieties, Jimmy being a canary, Pearl being a hawk or owl. He still didn't know. No one else underground was a parrot. Parrots were one of the smartest bird breeds. He should know. He majored in biology. I'm a mutant? Green whispered, forgetting Hawkeye was even there with him. Of course you are, Doc grinned at him. You are my greatest creation. That's why I looked after you for so many years. I had to make sure your powers were developing correctly, and your avian powers were to a high enough standard to please the Watchers. Grin shivered, the word twisting an imaginary knife in his stomach. You were their prized gift I gave them. You were going to give me the chance to prove myself. You proved to be too smart, though, and ran away. I was going to be given the chance to make an army. We could have taken over the Undercity. It could have been our city. A city that made humans regret ever forcing hybrids underground, Doc tried to explain. Doc's words weighed heavily in Grin's mind. Nothing was relevant to Doc. A multitude of negative things crashed into Grin's mind. Doc didn't care about him. He was genetically modified to be a weapon to hurt innocent humans. He was created to destroy. He was created out of hatred for humans and out of spite to prove someone else's worth. Nothing good got through to him, though. He was created to hurt people. Nothing more. Grin swallowed, staring at Doc. And what happened when I left? Grin asked, staring at Doc's skin. Doc frowned, looking down. After your stunt of running away, the Watchers didn't enjoy my experiment being rebellious. It was punishment, to say the least. Doc glared at his avian son. I was made a mutant while they searched for you in secret. I don't know what you did or how you did it, but you hid for so long we suspected you died. And then you were stupid enough to come back. Green's breath hitched. His eyes drifted to Hawkeye, crouched behind Doc. Green's eyes widened. Hawkeye stared directly back at him. None of this would have happened if it weren't for Hawkeye. Green regretted ever letting him take him down there. Green forced himself to stay standing, no matter how faint he felt. He refused to show fear. He refused to let his legs give out now. How did you know it was me? He whispered, confused as to how he was even found. Sure, he went to their old home, but nothing indicated it was him. Doc smiled at his creation. It gave Grant chills. I made more mutants. The experiments didn't stop with you. I was given another chance to create more mutants. Of course, I was never able to find another witch hybrid, but it was easy enough to turn the children of the Undercity avian. We kept it a secret and kept track of every avian mutant we made. And then one passed you. Another saw you walking with a Vex. It was odd, seeing a supposed hybrid with mutants. We had some people follow you. Saw you investigate my old home, where I work a warden with some help of a friend who... Well, they had to be sacrificed. It was easy to tell by the way you reacted, but it was easy when you revealed your true color patterns to the avians watching you, Doc explained. Green, to say the least, felt sick. He wanted to turn off the edge of the building and vomit with the amount of bile rising in his mouth. The information he was being fed seemed so superficial. He couldn't believe he had been watched, followed even. How long had they followed him? Green couldn't help the odd flinch, reaching up to cover his mouth. he could not throw up right now. Above all that, Doc had summoned the warden on purpose? Just to attack humans and kill people. Was it all some elaborate scheme to get Grin to come out and save people? Hiding your natural wing pattern and eye color with your witch magic was proof enough that you were the first experiment. Surely you were aware of your power. You've changed wing color and pattern multiple times. You're not as stupid as you pretend to be. Truthfully, Green had no idea what even being a witch hybrid meant. No one in his family ever questioned him, and he didn't know why. He began, fumbling for words. It made sense why his eyes turn purple when he changes his wing color. How he changed his wing color? His siblings couldn't do that. He grit his teeth, showing weakness and fear. He swallowed. I wasn't pretending. I didn't even know I was a mutant. I've never heard of a witch hybrid. I don't. If I had told you, Doc cut him off, you wouldn't have been so easy to manipulate. Now Green really felt sick. The hybrid who helped raise him and create his family was hurting him and showing no emotion over him. Green had mourned his death, cried over someone he cared about, and wished to see one last time. And he was treating Green like nothing more than an experiment. Was I only some test subject for you? Green asked, feeling his canines reshape in his mouth. He ground his teeth, feeling the points dig into his lip. You were everything to me, Doc explained. You were the subject. You were going to be the one thing to give us the chance to make the humans regret ever sending us underground. You were going to change the lives of hybrids and mutants and help take over the city and make them realize what they did was wrong. Doc explained his vision, not noticing Green's feathers spreading angrily. You should have been there to help me. Green glared at the scientist, feeling tears form in his eyes. No, I shouldn't have, Green yelled in response, startling both Hawkeye and Doc. I would have never agreed to that plan. I spent years in fear of your fucking cult. The only reason I was kept alive was to protect other avian soldiers. Who were children? Green asked loudly. My entire life was taken from me because of you. I gave you life, Doc screamed back. I made you avian. I took care of you and your siblings. They were 8, he screeched, hurting his own throat. Who you treated like child soldiers, Green cut him off, tears streaming down his face. I can't believe my whole life is a lie, and all you care about is me running away to try and live a normal life above ground, Green scoffed, reaching up to rub his tears. To hell with showing emotion or fear. I was nothing more than a pincushion and a toy to you, something to play with and see what I could do. I could have had parents. I could have grown up normal, Green screeched, baring his aggressive canines. You are a witch. There's nothing normal about you, Doc corrected him. Green snapped, reaching for his gun. He froze upon realizing he dropped it earlier. He looked back to Doc and glared, moving to grab the pistol at his hip, aiming it just as quickly. If there's one thing still normal about me, it's that I care about this city like a real hero would, Green muttered, moving to point his gun at Doc. He may have been distraught over losing someone he cared about, but if said person was going to throw him aside and kill innocent people, he'd manage a way to get over it all. Doc stared at the other with wide eyes, shifting to move closer to Green. Why don't you shoot me then? He asked calmly, slowly approaching Green. Go on, shoot the one person who gave you everything in life. Green stilled, his aim sliding down. Doc had given him everything, indirectly or not. His family, his wings, his life. The drive to leave the Undercity. Even if it was unethical and torture, he had the life he did thanks to Doc kidnapping him and raising him. He knew it was wrong to justify the mutant's actions. Somehow, Grin still felt sympathetic. He shifted his gaze down to look at the ground. If he had never been brought to the Undercity, he never would have experienced it and wanted to leave. He would have never ended up in his current situation, opening up to his family, dating Scar, working alongside Hawkeye. Some people see him as a hero. He would have never been a hero without Doc turning him avian. Green looked back up to see Doc standing in front of him. He stared at the mutant's face, the green plague spreading across his face and behind his robotic eye. Green's hands came apart. He still held the gun, but loosely at his side. He was right. He couldn't kill the one person who gave him everything in life. That boy, Doc whispered, placing a hand on the avian's head to pet his hair. Green initially flinched, glancing behind Doc to see Hawkeye's hurt and horrified expression. He glanced away to look back at Doc's eyes. Soon enough, I'll have the humans driven out of the city, and mutants and hybrids will be welcomed again, he grinned. Hawkeye stood up as he watched the scene in front of him. Green wanted nothing more than to fling the scientist off the roof, but he was frozen. He found himself unable to speak, unable to move. He couldn't agree or disagree to the terms of this sort of agreement. I can't let that happen, Hawkeye interrupted the two. Green raised his head again to see the hero aiming his bow at Doc. Green froze, more than he already was, and glanced to see Doc's angry expression. And when did you get there? He asked, moving his hand away from Green. No matter, you'll be easy to deal with. Green tried to move, but his legs didn't move from beside him. His arms were limp, barely able to hold his pistol. He didn't know how his hands were even capable of holding onto it as long as it had. His eyes widened, seeing something being thrown to Hawkeye. Hawkeye's arrow got lost in a random direction as his hands fumbled to catch the device that was thrown. He stumbled, his feet scrambling back as he caught what appeared to be a small green sort of ball with a blinking light. Green looked at Doc, only to see he was gone. He felt free enough to move and look down, seeing the mutant scaling the building, throwing more of the strange devices. Green looked back up at Hawkeye, the red light blinking faster. His eyes widened. Jumping forward, he ran to Hawkeye, smacking the device from his hand. It went flying off the roof, and within seconds disintegrated into a cloud of fire and smoke. The small piece of metal and plastic fell from the cloud, making their way to the ground, hundreds of feet below them. When he turned back around to look at Hawkeye, the hero seemed shocked. Green moved to open his mouth, but only spluttered out nonsensical noise before finally falling to his knees with a gasp. He stared at the cloud of smoke, his wings lowering to rest on the ground. He felt hands on his shoulders and saw the hero's face come into view. Exlaqua? Hawkeye whispered, frowning at the other hero. What happened? He asked, raising a hand to gently pat at his hair. Green only let out a short sob, his face crumbling as tears poured down his face. I don't know, he sobbed, reaching up to rub his eyes. His head wings covered parts of his face, keeping his eyes mostly hidden. I don't know what to do, Green admitted. This is all my fault. Whoa. No, it isn't. No one said anything about this being your fault. Hawkeye reassured the avian with a nervous smile. We'll stop him, he said, just as an explosion went off beneath them. Hawkeye's expression turned grim. Soon. Preferably really soon. Hawkeye sighed, moving to stand up. He looked off the edge of the building before coming back to Green. Green felt a hand caught through his hair, trying to calm him down. If I never left the Undercity, Green began. If I never went back, he corrected. I should have never gone down there, he rambled, continuously wiping his face under the glasses Exuma gave him. It's not your fault, Hawkeye repeated, lowering himself to pull Green's face to look at him. It's my fault. I forced you to come with me. I didn't give you a choice. Everything that's happening is my fault. Green knew deep down it wasn't. Hawkeye had explained himself prior. He knew it was neither of their faults. He couldn't let the hero take the blame, even if it was his fault on a technicality. Technically, Green mumbled to the hero, it's not really. If you didn't get a choice either, he mumbled, his crying letting up. Just seeing Doc again put him in a whirlwind of emotion. Hawkeye smiled at him. Then it's neither of our faults. Glad we can agree. But right now, we have to agree to set this aside for another time. I know you've gone through a lot, he began, Green frowning at the way he said it. But we do need to stop him. Hawkeye moved to stand up. He almost reached for his bow before glancing at his pistol with the bullets he'd shot Green with. Green also looked at them and gasped. Hawkeye. Hawkeye began hesitantly. I would aim for the arm or leg, somewhere less vital. Hawkeye began. Before looking at his bow, he dropped when he fumbled with the device, similar to a grenade. Alright, I'll use the bow and arrow, he said instead, easing Grian's anxiety. He moved to pick it up, making Grian feel much better about their predicament. Grian sniffed and looked away, moving to stand up himself. His brightly coloured wings were awfully bright in the daytime. He turned to try and find Doc again. What's our plan now? He whispered, not even sure where the mutant ran to. Hawkeye moved closer to the avian and frowned. I don't know, he admitted. Grian turned to him in confusion. Any possible plan to distract him involves you, and I really don't think you're mentally capable of this, he explained. Grian wasn't going to argue or lie. He shrugged, his wings drooping. Not really, he admitted, reaching up to wipe his nose. He had done a lot of crying today alone. Finding out he had supernatural abilities was the cherry on top. It would explain being able to change his wing color when his siblings couldn't. It would explain why his teeth were randomly getting sharper and then shrinking. Anything else he tried to process sent him on the verge of a panic attack. He grit his teeth and turned to Scar. I can't just sit by and do nothing though, he finally announced. I'm not an experiment or some toy. I'm a fucking hero. Mutant hybrid or what else he wants to throw in the mix. He needs to be stopped, and it's got to be by our hands. Grin moved to stand at the edge of the building. Hawkeye followed in hesitance, reaching for Grin. Exactly what? Grin grabbed his hand and leaned backward off the building, holding tightly to his wrist. Hawkeye made a startled noise as Grin carried him easily. This is stupidly insane, Hawkeye announced loudly. Stop complaining and keep your thoughts on fighting, Grin laughed back, gliding over buildings. When I see him, I'm relying on you to land near him and distract him. I'll come in after and get his attention. I need you to take some kind of shot after I get his attention. Grin hated the idea. The thought of hurting someone he once cried over when he thought they were dead. He wished things could be different. Are you sure you're up for this? Hawkeye asked, pulling Grin out of his thoughts while looking up at Grin. Grin glanced at the hero under his arm before looking back up, scanning the buildings and streets for the mutant. I don't think I really have a choice, Grin admitted, moving lower to see the hero on top of the building. Grin landed quietly beside him, sighing softly. He wasn't used to carrying anyone, let alone flying with someone in his arms. I know, but that doesn't stop me from being concerned, Hawkeye spoke, looking at the avian. Grin turned away, not wanting to meet Hawkeye's eyes. Where did he go? Hawkeye asked, changing the topic while looking around at the countless pillars of smoke that had faded. Grin looked around as well, opening his wings. He debated leaving Hawkeye alone, but he second-guessed himself, deciding it would be too dangerous to leave the hero alone. He moved to face away from Hawkeye, surprised when he didn't hear any explosion go off. All he heard were police and ambulance sirens rushing around the streets of the city. I don't know, but I don't think it's safe to separate, he suggested. Hawkeye turned to him, reaching out for the avian's arm. Grin immediately jerked away, staring at him. Are you sure you're okay to keep this up? He asked. You've been through a lot, and Grin hated the way Hawkeye looked at him. Hawkeye, now is not the time for a heart-to-heart. Besides, I don't exactly have time to take a break. If you haven't noticed, the city is being destroyed. Now would you shut up and start looking? He asked, his angry tone dropping when he heard a metal clanking noise. That transitioned into a rolling noise. He glanced down to see the same green device from before beneath their feet. Grin's eyes widened as he moved as quickly as he could, kicking the device in the air. It went for a long while, accidentally breaking the roof of a nearby building. Grin glanced in the direction it had come from, only to see the mutant scientist holding a remote of some kind. I wouldn't be so careless if I were you, Doc chided, pressing a button on the remote. Grin stared in confusion, wondering where Doc had even come from, before seeing multiple creepers rolling on the road. So that's where they'd been coming from. Doc had made the robots and was sending them to attack humans. They seemed to be different from the normal creepers the heroes faced before, though. Grin noticed an odd electric crackling effect coming from the their mechanics. Anything that moves or even catches a glimpse of these will be destroyed. The explosions on these robots are twice as explosive and twice as fun, Doc beamed maniacally. Let's see how well you fare with these after your tail, hero. Grin looked down at them, rushing to grab Hawkeye's arm to lift him in the air. He held the other tightly as he flew up. Moments before, the building beneath them nearly blew them up. Grin glanced down, the entire building collapsing. He looked up to see Doc scaling a higher building. We can meet him at the top. Come on, Grin grunted, carrying the hero above the other buildings as he scaled the skyscraper. Looking up to see the mutant, making impressive time for a regular mutant just climbing. Grin vaguely remembered his goat genes and pushed the thought away as he got higher to the top. I've got him once we get up there. Try and talk to him while I aim, Hawkeye suggested, though his tone sounded strange. Hawkeye was definitely angry about something. He couldn't be more than Grin, though. That plan made Grin a little more than frustrated. The last thing he wanted to do was talk to the mutants again, but maybe if he could distract him long enough, Hawkeye could take the shot like they discussed. I'll try, Grin chose to land on. Getting to the top shortly after Doc, he set the hero down and moved higher to stand on the roof's entrance door platform. He was higher than the both of them, staring down at the mutants. So he gets chased, but not willing to do anything, Doc said, once he was the hybrid. Tossing him another green device. Green caught it easily and flung it to the side of him off the building, not caring where it landed or exploded. Enough toying with us and chatting. I don't care what kind of relation I have to you anymore. I'm not going to let you continue to hurt innocent people. They didn't do anything to you, Grin expressed, jumping off the platform to start his walk to Doc, slowly walking beside him. Doc moved away from him in anger. They did everything to us. They cast us out, forced us underground, and tried to kill us for just existing, Doc ranted. They're the reason none of us can walk freely on these streets without being berated and tormented. Worse, they try and kill us. Not everyone is like that, though, Green argued, gesturing to Hawkeye. Even the biggest hero dedicated to saving people from mutants like you doesn't think like that, Green explained, frowning as he shifted further around Doc. Doc glanced at the hero, taking note of his bow held tightly in his hand. And he's never even hurt you? He asked. Grin and Hawkeye shared a look. The same look. Grin looked away first, meeting Doc's eyes. That's exactly as I thought, Doc whispered, once he was close enough to Grin. Grin didn't register it at first, but he felt his thigh strap lighten up. He saw his own gun being pointed at Hawkeye. Hawkeye's reaction time was fast, but not fast enough. He drew his wither gun, but didn't get the chance to aim it. Neither of them were fast enough. Grin was too late. The shot rang in his ears when it was fired. Grin's eyes widened, seeing Hawkeye's mask shatter where it made contact with the bullet. The colorful pieces and glass went everywhere before his face disappeared from Grin's view. Grin stared at the empty space before realizing the other had fallen backward. Hawkeye! He found himself screaming before running and diving off the edge after his partner. He completely forgot about Doc at that moment, valuing the life of another instead of stopping the mutants. He was hit with bits of glass and cracked metal on his way down. He watched the other fall, reaching out for his limp hand. Their fingers grazed on occasion, but he was unable to fully grab the other. Come on, Green whispered, until he was able to grab his hand, pulling him in as quick as he could. He hugged the other close and wrapped his wings around the two of them. The motion made them spin in the air. He held the hero close with his wings until he was able to hold the hero's face. Hawkeye! Hawkeye! He screamed in distress, trying to wake the other. Wake up! He frantically patted the hero's cheek, trying his best to wake the other. He inspected the other's head, realizing the other wasn't bleeding. There wasn't even a bullet wound. He was relieved the other wasn't hurt, just unconscious. The reality of the situation still weighed down on him. Relief washed over him when he saw the hero barely open his eyes. His hand grazed where the visor shattered, half of his mask crumbling out of his hold. It fell away, joining the other bits of broken pieces in the air above them. Green's eyes widened when he looked back at Hawkeye's face, his hand trembling over the other's mask, where it cracked. Green eyes flashed clearly in Green's vague direction, dazed and confused, but trying to focus. Scar? What? What? Oh my god. Huh? Okay. Okay. That was a chapter. That was a chapter and a half. That's wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Okay. Well, okay, so first thing we need to unpack there. Doc being no, we knew Doc was alive from last chapter. Um, Doc being like full on evil. Pearl was right. That's all I could think about when like it was like when he was talking about the experiments on Green. Um, Pearl was right. Green was wrong. Green, oh gods. Jeez. What do you mean Doc was in control of the cult? Of the cult? The cult? Gods. Well, I guess not in control, seeing as he was also. But like, wow. Okay, so that whole revelation, Green isn't okay. I will admit that's a good point though. The whole what do you mean? Green can change the color of his wings. Jimmy and Pearl couldn't. I didn't register that before. Either it was an offhanded remark and I fully brushed past it, or it wasn't mentioned that they couldn't. Makes sense now, like obviously. Wow, wow. That I have a feeling if you were to re-listen to this or reread it, whatever, um, there's probably a whole bunch of hints to Green being a witch hybrid. I didn't pick up on them. There was a lot this chapter though, or last chapter. The thing with the teeth that was referenced quite a bit, and then yeah. Oh yeah, and the ending of Scar being revealed. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. I accidentally spoiled that for myself earlier. Um, when I finished reading last chapter, I skipped down to the bottom. I can't even remember why, but I ended up seeing the last words of Scar, and I was like, "Oh, reveal time!" I've completely forgot about that until I came up against it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this! I forgot about that." So I guess we get the reveal. Wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Anyway, sorry, that is me rambling on for like way too long now. I guess. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments because that was a chapter and a half. I love reading emotional scenes, specifically angry scenes. The flirty scenes are awkward to read. The angry scenes are so fun to act out. Anyway, tell me what you guys thought in the comments. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.